What's up guys, it's your boy Sly Jordy and I wanted to make this video today announcing that I finally completed Saints Row 2 for the first time. Obviously I can't show any gameplay unfortunately because I played it over on PlayStation Plus. If I could have streamed Saints Row 2 and done a full playthrough of it on the channel, trust me, I would have. So you have to contend with some Saints Row 4 gameplay, a game that I think is just as good as Saints Row 2 in terms of quality and in terms of the amount of content that you can actually do. And yeah, so my final review is kind of already revealed there. I think Saints Row 2 is an S tier game, just like Saints Row 4. So I can't really choose between the two. In some ways I prefer Saints Row 2, and in a lot of ways I prefer Saints Row 4 as well. But I definitely enjoyed Saints Row 2 in terms of story a lot more than I did Saints Row the 3rd Remastered. Not that that game is bad, it's just that in terms of the story, it was a bit of a mess. Saints Row 2's story is actually incredible, so much so that, and it has so much content in it, so much so that I think it's the best gangster game of all time. Like, it's way better than GTA San Andreas, and I like avoided it for the longest time because of San Andreas. You know, I got burnt out on that game so much so that, like, when it came to open world gangster games, I just didn't want to play it. Like, I'd play Vice City, I'd play GTA 3. Saints Row was a change for me. Absolutely incredible what Saints Row has done for me in the past couple of years. I'm very new to Saints Row, by the way. I only started playing Saints Row in 2021, and I didn't complete my first Saints Row game until January 2022 this year on the channel, in the Saints Row the 3rd Remastered Let's Play. And then of course I played Saints Row 4 as well, a game that I love, and I'm going to replay through both at some point. But yes, I beat Saints Row 2 the other day, and honestly, there's only a few, like very small problems I have with it, which I'm going to list off now. First off, having to do activities to unlock each mission, so having to fill up a respect bar, is very outdated. Like, I can deal with it because I know Saints Row 2 was made when it was made, in 2008. But I'm glad that's not in any more games. I'm glad they don't do that kind of stuff anymore, because I didn't like that. As good as the activities can be in Saints Row 2, obviously there's some favourites of mine that I played in Saints Row 3 and 4, and there was also some other ones. There was like Fight Club, for example, which Watch Dogs Legion has, and I will always like a Fight Club activity, so I'm glad that Saints Row 2 has that. There was also some other ones. Septic Avenger, I can see why people would like it, but for me it proved a little frustrating at times, so I'm not really sad to see Septic Avenger go. Trust me, I would love it to be in the Saints Row games, but honestly, it's not one of the best activities in the game, in my opinion. I know I know it's a fan favorite simply because of the gimmick, and honestly, I think they should bring Septic Avenger back for like the reboot or whatever. I haven't played the reboot, but you guys already know my opinions on the reboot, as I've seen a lot of content on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I think the Sons of Samedi questline part of the game, I think that ended pretty... it was pretty underwhelming in my opinion. I would have liked to have a bigger face-off with the General, sort of like we did for Mero and Shogo Akuji, that's it. I kind of mixed up the two names then. Yeah, the final battles for the Ronin and the Brotherhood were incredible. I think Ultor was it could be a bit underwhelming as well, but like, you really expect Dane Vogel to put up a massive fight. It made sense. Like, at least there was a one-on-one battle with Dane Vogel. That mission is the worst in the game, by the way. I'd heard the one with where you had to get, like, salting the earth again. I heard that level was really bad. I did that in like one attempt. I didn't really find it that bad. Then again, because ammo can be quite scarce in Saints Row 2, I always made sure to fill up my ammo before a particular mission. Like, obviously I wouldn't fill it up every time I did something, but every time I did a mission, after I filled up the respect bar, I would obviously buy some more ammo. So salting the earth again, I didn't really find much trouble in it. I can understand why you would find some trouble with it, but it's not that bad. Salting the earth again is not that bad. Just make sure you stock up on light machine gun ammo, or is it assault rifle ammo? Yeah, make sure you stock up on basically basically that, yeah, heavy SMG. That's sort of what it is. And then of course RPG ammo. It really helps you. The missions I found really frustrating was the Carlos mission, Carlos's death mission, which honestly, that cutscene at the end was so well done. Carlos's death scene so well done, it kind of makes up for it, so I'm not going to be too mad about that mission, but that one was difficult. The other one was the final mission, which was And a Better Life. I found that a little frustrating. I had to look up the controls again on IGN just to find out how to fire the missile, because apparently firing the missile is square, which makes absolutely no sense. The helicopter controls in Saints Row 2 are just abysmal. And it really makes me, like, a lot of people did say that the OG Saints Row the 3rd didn't look too much better than Saints Row 2, same as Saints Row 4, but honestly, there was a reason why they created a new engine for those games. Like, it was becoming pretty outdated, and certain controls for certain things were just horrible, and Saints Row the 3rd is leaps and bounds ahead of Saints Row 2 in terms of controls. Same with Saints Row 4 right here. There was another mission I struggled with, but I've kind of forgot about it. Yeah, I've completely forgotten about it. I don't really know which mission it was. But yeah, other than the one I forgot, there was only like 2 difficult missions. So there was about 3 difficult missions that I would have not wanted to do again, which is honestly pretty good, because since Saints Row 2 is the longest story in the game, because I think it has like 55 missions. One of my favourite missions was the secret mission that you find in the police station, where you confront Julius after the events of Saints Row 1. A game that I've not played, and I'm not going to be able to play for quite some time. I will get round to it at some point in my life, but it's not really a big deal to me, because I know that's a total GTA clone, whereas Saints Row 2 is different. And I can see why they made the changes they did. Sorry if the camera's going everywhere on the screen. My controller's got stick drift. I should switch the controller, but there's no real need. Gameplay's not the focus here. But pretty much, I forgot what I'm gonna say. I forgot what I was gonna say. I need to relook at the last clip. Hold on. Right, yeah, I can see why they made the changes they did for Saints Row the 3rd, because it was still known as a GTA clone, and you can blame companies like IGN for that, but if I'm going to be honest, I can see why they made the changes they did, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, I would, obviously, I would like a better story for Saints Row the 3rd, but in terms of tone, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of gameplay changes, I'm happy with Saints Row the 3rd. I wouldn't change it too much. If I was going to change anything, it would be the story. There were certain things in Saints Row 2 that a lot of people bring up that made it a little more immersive. For me, immersion's not the most important thing in terms of first impressions anyway. Like, if I'm going to stick with your game, then obviously immersion is important. But there was things like crib customization, which a lot of people bring up. Honestly, I don't think it was that big of a deal. There wasn't much customization anyway. It was usually just like the classy and then pimp, I think, which you can have either in any of the cribs in Saints Row the 3rd, essentially. I prefer the crib customization in Saints Row the 3rd. I know the only thing you can do is make the towers bigger, but like, for me, that's cooler. Most of my time is spent out in the open world, so when I see like massive towers that like are purple, that are obviously mine, and I can customize how big they are so I can see them from across the city, I find that cooler. And obviously I would prefer crib customization, but if that was like, if they had to remove it to save time to work on other things, then yeah, I don't mind it. Clothing customization is incredible in Saints Row 2. I can't believe they never really delved back into it, but I can see why they didn't. Again, Saints Row the 3rd I can kind of pass off, and Saints Row 4 you can pass off as well, because that was done That was just rushed out. Well, not rushed out, it was obviously polished decently enough. But yeah, obviously they didn't have enough development time, didn't have as much as they wanted to, and they had to completely change what the game was and everything. Again, I love Saints Row 4, and I wouldn't change Saints Row 4 at all. This game is incredible to me. The only Saints Row game I would properly change would be 1 and 3. Oh, and the reboot, obviously, but the reboot needs a complete overhaul. Like, that needs to be forgotten. Obviously, I'll get the reboot at some point and then experience everything for myself, because from what I've seen, it pretty much... I was very disappointed by it. It's very cringy. I watched a couple of Let's Plays, entire Let's Plays on it, one of them from The Professional, of course. But yeah, I will play through that game myself at some point, but right now, I want to make this announcement that I want to go and review, like replay and review Saints Row games. So this is essentially my Saints Row 2 review. It's not fully in depth, because I know a lot of people won't like the fact that I'm playing Saints Row 4 in the background, but with Saints Row the 3rd and 4, I definitely want to do full-scale reviews for those ones, compare them to Saints Row 2, compare them with each other, etc, etc. As you can see, this is if you've watched my Let's Plays, this character is completely different, and if you've seen the thumbnail, this version of the character, my boss, looks similar to my Saints Row 2 boss that you can see in the thumbnail, and I wanted to do that. I wanted like the sense of cohesion, hence why I'm using this voice. Wait.
You get my vote.
There we go. Ken Michael, voice 2. He is one of the voices in every Saints Row game, and he's the voice that I personally used for Saints Row 2. Now, I'm re-uploading my favourite cutscenes from Saints Row 2 with my character in it on my second channel, so if you want to go check that out, of course. Sorry for the voice crack. If you want to go check that out, yeah, be sure to do that. That would be very cool. But yeah, I'm uploading all of them because I just really like it. But yeah, that's really about it for Saints Row 2. Honestly, again, I think it's the best gangster game of all time. Do I think it's better than Saints Row 4? No. But do I think Saints Row 4 is better than Saints Row 2? No. They're completely fine in their own right, and I don't like the thing where people are like, Saints Row 4 is a good game, but it's not a good Saints Row. Like, as if Saints Row ever had a proper identity to begin with. Like, they had an identity in Saints Row 2 that they were working towards, but I wouldn't say it was a definitive one. I'd say Saints Row the 3rd is more of a definitive identity of what Saints Row is, even though it is objectively the weakest, or at least the second weakest Saints Row. I think that's Shondi's Loft down there. Yeah, that's Shondi's Loft. Man, I wish we still had the cribs in Saints Row 4. I can see why they're not there, but I wish they would have, like, re-unlocked. There's an audio tape over there. I'm not picking that up because it will overlay. It don't matter anyway, because this is an autosave file. This isn't my proper... You know, I've been playing around with the images designed settings to try and make my characters look like, you know... to try and have a level of cohesion from Saints Row 2 onwards. So I'll show you my Saints Row the 3rd character now. And yeah, that's about it. Again, I like Saints Row 2. I'm not sure if I'd want to replay through it again anytime soon. I probably will. I definitely will at some point. It's a great game. Again, I don't like the whole activities, having to do them and fill up your respect bar to unlock missions. I'm someone who just wants to smash through the main missions first and then do the side stuff afterwards. I mean, you can tell by the map here that I've barely done any of the activities. Something I will do for my review of Saints Row 4, same with Saints Row the 3rd. I'll do all the activities, own all the districts, etc. I'll try and 100% them. So yeah, those reviews are coming soon, Saints Row the 3rd and 4, although I'm going to work on them into 2023, so don't expect them to come anytime soon. I will be starting Saints Row the 3rd again at some point, because yeah, to have that level of cohesion from Saints Row 2 to the third, like, have Saints Row 2 fresh in my mind when I go into the third, that would be very cool. And then the same thing for 4. So yeah, I'm starting to ramble a bit now. But yeah, in terms of the rating I'd give for Saints Row 2, it's S tier, easily. Again, it's the best gangster game of all time. It's quite alarming that Volition seem to, at least this new Volition, seem to want to sort of erase it from their history. I don't like that at all. I think that's pretty shitty of them to do, honestly. Especially since that game sort of made them, you know? Saints Row the Third wouldn't have sold as well as it did without Saints Row 2. But then again, Saints Row wouldn't be as popular as it is today without Saints Row the Third, you know? Those games are the most important games in Saints Row. But yeah, like I said, Saints Row 2 is an S tier game. It really needs a remaster, honestly. I think Saints Row 1 would need a complete, like, just completely remake Saints Row 1, remaster Saints Row 2, and if you're going to, I mean, this reboot needs to be forgotten about, honestly. It's just not Saints Row. It's not any kind of Saints Row. It's barely even, like, a good open world game. It's not a good open world game. So I hope they reboot it again. I understand why people didn't like the boss's character from Saints Row 2. I mean, like, a certain portion of the fan base didn't like it. So I can see why they changed it, and it made sense to change it. It wouldn't have made sense for the boss to remain as angry and bitter as he was in Saints Row 2 in the 3rd and 4th after literally accomplishing everything, having all the money, the cars, the penthouses that you could ever want, you know? But I'll explain that in Saints Row the Third, in the Saints Row the Third review, and I'll rehash it on the Saints Row 4 review. But yeah, I'm fine with the way Saints Row went. I wouldn't really change it all that much, but in terms of the reboot, it should have taken a lot from Saints Row 2. It should have been Saints Row 2 meets Saints Row the Third, essentially. With a DLC that had Saints Row 4 kind of superpowers. That would have been the perfect Saints Row game, in my opinion. You could have had you could have had the tone of Saints Row the Third, but a story where it would know when to take itself seriously, and there'd be times when the boss would get angry and bitter, and we'd see that side of the boss that we saw in Saints Row 2, but we'd also see the side of the boss, the comedic, carefree side of the boss that we saw in the 3rd and 4th, you know? Again, I really like the way the boss turned out. I think it sort of makes sense, so I wouldn't really change it all that much. But, yeah, again, I'm rambling, so I'm going to end it right here. Guys, let me know if you've played Saints Row 2. Let me know if you agree with anything I've said about Saints Row 2. Personally, again, S-tier game, needs a remaster. I hope it does get a remaster, because then I'll be able to play it for you guys. But, yeah, without further ado, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're interested in watching any of the clips that I'm going to be posting on the second channel, be sure to subscribe to the second channel. Go follow my Twitch. I'll be playing some Saints Row on that at some point. And, yeah. Keep those notifications on for when I upload the Saints Row the Third review and 4, and eventually I'll get round to doing the reboot after those 2 games. So I think I'll be playing the reboot maybe
I don't have to worry about getting impeached.
maybe early 2023 or mid 2023, definitely before the 1-year anniversary of that game. But yeah, that's about it guys. So peace.